It's Wednesday, May the 1st,
May the 1st.
5:44 PM.
5:44?
I'd like to call this meeting to order. The City of Laredo Technical Review Board Ad Hoc Committee. Would you do the...
Or you want me to do it?
Oh, no, second paragraph.
Yeah.
Out of consideration for all attendees of the City of Laredo Technical Review Board Ad Hoc Committee meetings, please turn off all cellular phone and pagers or place on inaudible signal. Thank you for your consideration. Pursuant to the Texas Penal Code, trespass by holder of license to carry a handgun, a person licensed under subchapter H, chapter 411 Government Code may not enter into the City Hall first floor conference room while committee is in session with a concealed or openly carried handgun. Item number 2, roll call.
Roll call, yes. Mr. Oscar Juarez? Present. Mr. Ruben Benny Salinas?
Present.
Mr. Jesus Ruiz?
Present.
Mr. George Hamilton? Mr. Juan Salinas?
Present.
Mr. Cesar Cantu?
Here.
Mr. Kurt Kraus? And Mr. Edward Ochoa.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Next item are the minutes from the regular meeting of April 3rd, 2018.
Actually, excuse me, Chairman, we need to acknowledge citizen comments.
Oh, yeah. Citizen comments, is there anybody present?
Nobody's present, but just wanted to, we need to put it, we had a memo sent by the city manager's office, so any public meeting as directed by city council, we would need to make sure that if there were any citizens here, so it needs to be on there. Okay, sorry.
I'd like to make a motion that all citizen comments in City Hall meetings are scheduled at the end of the city council meetings as opposed to the beginning, but I don't think we can do that.
No, we cannot.
The minutes from regular meeting of April 3rd, 2018.
I sent one, and I know Mr. Ruben Benny Salinas was marked absent on it, but if you see your attached minutes, it is corrected. Thank you, Mr. Ruiz. And so, if you see anything, I would like to mention again, I know we mentioned it before, try to limit the conversation to one person talking. This recording does give me words so that I could provide better documentation as to who said what, who motioned what. So with that being said, if you remember anything specifically that is not on these minutes, I have them available here in Word so that I can change them and save them for the record.
Does it make it easier to say, if you're gonna make a motion, this is Juan Salinas, I'd like to make a motion, blah, 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 does it come out there?
It comes out, it's
does it make a
dictated
difference?
like, yeah,
I seen it on the YouTube, right?
Yeah. so whatever they call it.
I move we approve the minutes as corrected.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All against? Motion carries.
So who's second, I'm sorry?
The next item is an update on the City of Laredo Development Code, Chapter 24, Article 4 and 5 for the purpose of revising the dimensional standards, setback requirements, and any other matters incident thereto. I guess I'd like to open up the item for discussion.
If I may, for the record, we met with the council member, Vidal Rodriguez, who presented this item at city council for this committee to look at the setback ordinance or the setback section of the ordinance. And with a discussion, fire department was present, city managers was present, both city managers, planning director, building director, the fire marshal, and staff, also planning and zoning commission chairman, Mr. Villarreal was present. And there was some discussion on this item to clarify. And so because there was, backtrack a little bit further, we presented this item to the Planning and Zoning Commission last meeting. And again, they tabled it because they wanted a workshop in figuring out what the economical impact was or other impacts that these setback ordinances would do. My reply to the committee was, I don't feel, I mean, the economical impact, I'm not an economist, and I explained to them that I'm not in the position to say what is, if you want to talk about codes, about the building department, then I would be more than happy to talk about that. And so, that being the case, they tabled it, and therefore, the council member and city management directed us to put this, as we had discussed last meeting, if you remember. Didn't matter what Planning and Zoning Commission was gonna do, we were gonna present it to city council, so it's moving forward. It is on the agenda for the next city council, so, as I believe it's an introductory ordinance. So this, as proposed right now by this board, it's moving forward with exceptions of a couple of things that we need to discuss and vote on as agreed upon in that meeting. And other than that, I don't know, I just wanted to tell the ones that weren't at the meeting what was.
Who called that meeting?
That meeting was called by Mr. Victor Linares, the director of building, as to get everybody together, get on the same page with the council member. And so it was an organized effort with city managers as well to find out, because the Planning and Zoning Commission did not have an issue with the carports at all. Their stance was, if you would have brought us 3 separate ordinances, one for the carports, one for the front setbacks, and one for the rear setbacks, the carport would have gone in. And the front was more of a maybe, and the rear was more of a, they didn't want to, for whatever reason. So, and we were more like, the rear is more like we would want to, the front we might not want to, staff. And staff had no issue with the carports. So, that being the case, legal department was there as well. And so they're trying to figure out the logistics, and I just wanna bring it up to you guys and say, in light of that meeting, I know Mr. Ruiz was there, Mr. Salinas was there, so I just wanted to give you that information so you guys can have a little more information and make your decisions today. So.
I think the 3 biggest issues, or the 3 issues that were raised that were contrary to what we had, were, one of them, the accessory dwelling, like we had spoken about here briefly. Currently, you can build it all the way up to 2.5 foot into the side setbacks. And we had proposed just doing a 5 foot setback, side setback for anything, whether it was a house, accessory dwelling, an addition at the end. And everybody there at the meeting tended to, including P&Z, the councilman, fire, tended to kind of all be on the same page, thinking, well, why are we doing it? If the whole point of the ordinance is try to make people, make better use of their land, why are we restricting that? Why did we do that? And did it matter one way or the other? So that was one of the things that we had spoken about. I guess we can get the temperature of everybody here.
And the reasoning,
Do we have to vote on this
back off of that?
items?
Well, one of the things we were thinking about was voting on
Item by item?
Yes.
Individual?
voting on item by item, just to see if we're all in agreement. I know that the city councilman he expressed what his motion was gonna be, and it was gonna be to take off that 5 foot deal, go back to the old way. He agreed with the P&Z and everybody else, or whoever else was there. And the other one was expanding the ordinance for the front setback to include old plats as well as new plats. For a while there, we said, well, in the part that already has a plat on it, we didn't want to we didn't want to approve, or the committee voted on, the majority of the committee voted on not approving front lot additions. I mean, additions any further in from the 20-foot in the front in new subdivisions. In older subdivision, I mean, I'm
In
sorry,
old subdivisions.
in old subdivisions. In newer ones, as long as it was defined on the plat, well, then everybody approved it. As long as you have room for your 2-car port and all that, so cars wouldn't be out in the street, as long as you had the cars up on the deck. But whatever was left over, you can utilize a little bit more of your front yard space. In the meeting here today, the councilman said, hey, the whole point of this was so you can use more of your lot. Land's so expensive, everybody's living the same thing. My constituents want to be able to add on to their property and use more of their land, as opposed to being so restricted. So he kind of said, hey, I'm gonna vote for, that was the whole point, because most of his stuff's existing. So he's gonna vote for, he plans to, I guess his motion's gonna be a little bit different from what we had previously put in there.
Recommend.
He wants to expand it to the deal, so I guess those two items are the biggest ones that we need to talk about.
Okay, I just had a question on that. So at this point, you know, it's too late to change what we sent to him? Because it's already in the agenda as is, or if whatever I mean, we can vote on it today
Yeah.
to be something that shows support for
Yeah.
the
Or the other.
proposed changes that he's looking at, but the other side of it is, I mean, is it still an opportunity for us to change it?
In other words, there's a,
Is it
what's
already
in
in on
the
the
full
deal?
packet?
It is already in on the deal.
It's already in on the packet, okay.
The
So
packet was submitted at 5
But he
PM.
can change it
Before
at-
5 PM. and
he can change it at the meeting, and if we
Correct.
make a vote here,
Right,
it
and
would
then-
be, I don't wanna call it a ceremonial vote, but like, you know, a vote in support of his changes if we agree, so,
Yeah.
if we agree to that. right?
And his, if I may, his suggestion was, please take off. See, the idea was to have the accessory structures, instead of the 2.5 feet, as close as 2.5 feet from the property line on the back, this committee voted to put it at 5 feet, in other words, moving it back. And the mentality or the reasoning was, what if they don't wanna do any rear living area, they just wanna do a palapa, they have to be 5 feet away now, with this new ordinance. Why can't we leave it at the 2.5 feet so that he can enjoy his backyard and put it a little further closer to the property line? Like, you're restricting the guy that just wanted the palapa at 2.5 feet, and that's what he was.
That was one. So what I was thinking about doing is maybe we could call a
Okay.
quick vote here to see how we feel about that.
Okay.
And that way we can get that past us, and then we can talk about the other one.
Sure.
Excuse me, let me ask you, so what was the difference before? I mean, what was setbacks before, all the same?
2.5.
2.5.
So it's always been 2.5?
Yeah,
It's
in other words,
always-
did you-
For
did you
the
see that?
accessory structure.
Forever and ever, it's been 2.5.
2.5.
For, yeah, if you wanted to build like a palapa or
I can
anything else
put-
in the
I
back.
can
So 2.5 feet from the property line?
Yeah.
On, I mean.
On either side.
Your perimeter part of the perimeter property.
Well, 2.5 feet on either.
On the
either
side and the
On the
rear.
sides and then the rear también?
As long as you don't build on top of, yeah, the rear's 2.5, as long as you don't build on top or on a easement.
An easement.
Okay.
So like if you have an easement in your backyard, you have to
Right,
respect
okay.
it. But other than that, you can go up to 2.5 feet. Like if you have a front lot, old school, like in the older part of town where they had, everybody had overhead lines, you don't have an easement in your backyard, you could build it all the way to
I
2.5
got you.
foot.
Mhm. Okay.
So that's how it's been
It's been like
for a long time.
82.
Yeah, since 82. So it's been like that forever, and we were kind of, as part of this other thing, we're getting a little more aggressive with setbacks in general. So we scaled that back a little bit. But nobody seemed to understand why we would have done that when the whole purpose of this is to use more of your land, and then, you know, we're restricting that part. So
So the change is, so,
it would be, as opposed to trying to change something that was already there,
Right.
leaving it alone.
So here,
Is really
if
what the
you
vote is.
notice, Mr. Juarez, this is what was existing, and it's
Right.
2.5 feet from the back of the property line, the accessory enclosed building. So the proposed ordinance that is being changed is to 5 feet. So it didn't matter if it was accessory or living. And so the deal was, why, if anybody wants to do, an accessory is defined as not the primary use of the lot. Meaning, it's not, nobody's gonna live there.
right.
Or maid's quarters, you could
Yeah,
do, or
we have a maid's
house, or-
quarters.
yeah.
The intent is not supposed, that's the definite, I'm just going by what the definition is saying, I mean, so. There is
It has to be
additional
intended.
supplementary
Yes, instead of-
provisions in another section, but in general,
But
That's the
unattached.
key, that's the little nugget that.
A tool shed or a,
Tool shed or whatever,
But it could be an
whatever.
apartment back there if you're allowed an accessory dwelling in the backyard. So theoretically, we could go all the way to 2.5, as long as it's not attached to the house. Once it gets attached to the house,
there you have
then
to,
everything kind of changes. But if
Yeah.
it's not attached to the house, I mean, you could build, I don't know how far away you have to be from the house.
Yeah, no, we
Just
put it in
whatever
there,
the
it's
house is.
5
somebody's
feet.
10 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 5 feet from structure to structure within your own property.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
2.5
So
feet.
currently, you can do that, whatever's back there on the
You
top.
can utilize pretty much 100% of your
Almost the whole
backyard.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we want to put up that piece up for a vote. I don't know if everybody's okay or not okay. or
let's
wanna
go
call
item
for a
by
vote.
item and then we'll vote.
Well, I would need a motion.
Have a,
I make a motion that we consider going back to the city's original, the recommendation be that we go back to the original 2.5 feet building setback for accessory structures.
Second.
The motion, a second.
all in favor?
Wait. True motion and.
Let's do a second.
Nice to meet you.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Eduardo
No, I'm in favor.
Oh.
I was just like, I was just gonna make a comment, I don't know if we
To
wanted to.
acknowledge, I'm about to
Yes.
acknowledge.
Yeah,
Mr. Hamilton, yeah,
well,
the motion is so we can,
Well, let's open it up for discussion, right? We have a motion, a second on the table.
What was the motion again?
The motion
To go
was
back to what the original
to
city
go back
had.
to the original city and an accessory dwellings.
And Edward second, right?
no, Mr. Cantu second.
Yeah, those accessory dwellings that aren't attached to the house. Before, you could build them all the way up to 2.5 foot from your property line.
Right.
Been like that since '82. In this new ordinance, we wanted to have everything 5 foot.
Uniformed.
Uniform, including the accessory dwellings. But after a meeting that we had today with some of the guys from P and Z and the council member, they kind of suggested, hey, why are you all changing that when the whole point is to make more use of your land? What if somebody doesn't want to add any more to their backyard and still want to do a palapa? Let's let them still do it at 2.5 foot. Why are we going to change the rule on them? So we were just voting for whether or not we want to agree with them and kind of change our deal to go back to that 2.5 foot setback.
So we have
So we have a
a
motion.
motion and a second, and then a discussion. Or are we gonna, everybody voted, right? Or-
No, we can vote, I was just gonna
I guess we
comment, I
can
don't know,
call for a vote
since
now that
Mr.
Mr.
Hamilton was
Hamilton's here.
walking in
Yeah.
at the time, we included.
So you know what you're
I wanted
voting
I wanted to give an opportunity to at least hear a little summary before, we force him to vote, right?
So that's a motion on the table in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Everybody.
Yeah, I'm in favor,
Benny was
my hand was late.
building inspector for.
So next, I guess we're gonna open up for
100 years
discussion.
now. So the next, so do you see any problem with that?
No.
Talked about is,
The next item that we're gonna talk about, originally and we've been talking about it here before, but originally, when we set this up, there was some discussion on whether or not that new front building setback that we've been talking about, whether or not that should apply on all plats or just brand new plats. And there was different people thought different things, and I think the majority ended up going with, it should only be on new plats. And after the discussion today with everybody, we wanted to bring it back for discussion to see whether or not we wanted to change that any to include old and new plats, and/or have a discussion on why we should go one way or the other on our recommendation. So that's kind of what we're
it's
discussing.
going to city council on Monday.
Which one is it?
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
It's on the agenda.
So again, Juan, if
And I
you could
keep
summarize
Wait.
for us a little bit about the discussion of that topic this morning.
The discussion on that
Or
one
that,
was,
or the sentiment
It's
of,
actually, the gentleman was,
I think that the councilman that put it on there to begin with, his whole point was, try to give more a choice to property owners on what you can use your own property for. I guess that was his whole point for even bringing this up to the committee to begin with. And his district primarily, it consists of a lot of existing plats. It's an older part of town, or at least a big portion of it, or a big portion of his constituency that is asking him for this, to be able to add on to their house and whatnot. So he's, his whole point, he said, well, my whole point was for existing stuff and not necessarily new, so what
Front
he's,
and rear?
front and rear.
Yeah, he
So
wanted
just to
know.
kind of give you an idea of where this new, I mean, what we're trying to vote on here, whether or not we agree with him. He's gonna make that motion either way, no matter what we recommend. I mean, that's, you know, what he's gonna do, but it's just up to us whether or not we agree with it, I guess.
Was there any discussion on that, on the existing, on corner lots?
No, then that's not for the corner
Yeah,
lots. There
I would
was discussion.
still have some
There
concern.
was discussion
Okay.
that it was not available for corner lots.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he was.
Corner lot, he
kind of
was okay
understood
with it.
our logic
He
behind that?
understood,
Okay.
Yes, he
Yeah.
understood it.
Yeah, that, for
The
me,
corner lot,
that
we
would
talked
be
about
the
that.
only concern. I mean, if I can, if my recollection was correct, on our discussion on existing
Yeah.
versus proposed.
We added a new line on the table. Front yard setback corner to the 3 asterisks, meaning new plats after, we had it at 20 feet.
I think that's the only piece that changes, right? Just the note on the chart. I mean, that's the only thing that would change one way or the other. That's the only place we addressed it. The new subdivisions versus the old ones, right?
Well, the dimensional chart, we added a new corner designation for new plats.
Oh, yeah, no, I was talking about the 10-foot in new plats as opposed to older plats. I was trying to find where we put that.
Well, I guess
in.
before we go to the chart, what's the consensus of everybody? All I was saying is that it was
Oh, new
discussed,
residential
and
plat.
the dimensional
There it is.
standards address the corners that they have to be 20
They still,
feet.
this corners would still remain
20
with 20 feet in the front.
For visibility.
For visibility.
So my recollection on
It was an
our,
aesthetic deal
yeah.
that we thought.
No, the visibility, I think, I mean, I haven't gone out to a site and set a stake 10 feet and tried to see if I felt comfortable with that, then that might have been a good idea, but, no, I think in summary, our initial discussion and concern on that was more aesthetics, I thought, right? And is that what everybody was
Yeah,
recalling?
whether or not, well, I think I
Whether or
brought that up. I
not
think,
somebody in existing would, one be
Yeah.
like that and one not be like that, and so.
or just, you know, if you were gonna match the roof line, how it was gonna look. But as we talked about a little while ago, I guess somebody could paint their house stripes, you know, and, I mean, it's the
Well,
same, it's
I
a
had
similar
a
deal, you can't really
discuss-
control
I had a
it.
discussion with an individual today,
Mhm.
that I built his home for. I built his home and he lives in a, you know, in a nicer subdivision. And I posed a question to him about building to the front. He was a little chewy, right now they're all enclosing their garages anyway,
Yeah.
you know, so.
I drove by the house where I used to live, and they enclosed the
Yeah.
garage.
Yeah, he says,
Put
so
some
they're not
panels or
using it. He
something.
says, my main concern is that it be uniform. In other words, not that, you know, one person can be able to do it and then somebody else
Not,
not be able to, and then he used the example of, like, changing the speed limit, in other words, so the speed limit is the speed limit,
yeah,
you know, don't give me a ticket for going 100 miles an hour on a 100-mile-an-hour speed limit.
sure.
You know, so he didn't, and I asked him the question, I said, do you mind if somebody builds, you know, the living area 5 feet from the property line? No. And informally, the people that I've asked, nobody's really been, I haven't had one that, you know, that has argued against it. And even one person told me, well, look, the reality of it is that if they're allowed to do it, most people are not gonna do it anyway.
Yeah,
But at least give people an opportunity to,
yeah, for those who
you
want
know,
to.
for those who want to.
That's what we spoke about earlier. It's the same thing as when we passed an ordinance a while back, before you guys were on the committee, that allowed down to 3,000 square foot lots, 35-foot front. And everybody got nervous that they kept saying, wow, so all Laredo now is gonna be 35 foot. I want a bigger backyard. I said, well, you can still buy whatever size lot you want, but there's an option to go down up to that. And to date, I think there's been, I mean, I can count 20, 46, less than 100 lots, I think, or just about 100 maybe, that have been developed under that zoning designation. And it's probably been there.
More than 100 by now.
Maybe 120 or whatever you guys put on, but it's just really
It's
Danny and
100?
Chewy, I mean, Danny and Richie
Yeah.
in quantities that have put any down.
That's what I'm saying, but
40
like
and 40
between
or
Las
80 plus
Misiones
20.
and Aquero, that's 100 lots,
Of R1Bs?
or one of
I
these.
don't know you put in R1B, that many in Laredo.
Well, I did two
You just
phases.
peppered them in?
Yeah, yes, but when we're doing the developments, I don't put them all 35s. In other words, I do a mix of 35
That's what I
and
mean, but
22s.
actual 35-foot lots?
Oh, 100% 35?
Yeah, no,
I
actual,
didn't do
it's
100%.
probably 100, 120, and we've had that zoning designation for like 3 years, I think, right?
So
2 or
did
3
Danny
years.
take it to the maximum? Did you do them all 35s?
Yeah, but they were super deep. So they weren't 3,000, they were like 35-foot wide, but they were like 120-foot deep. So you could put a one-story, or you could push it back if you didn't have a garage.
What, do you wanna put mobile homes in there?
No,
No, you can
real
build a
houses.
home
Yeah.
30 deep.
And they look pretty nice. Yeah, they look real nice, especially if you put them next to, like in the green, I put
It's
42s,
not-
35s.
The 35
Get
is
to the
not
difference.
new.
Right?
The 35
Yeah.
is Indian Sunset, Fiesta.
But I guess the point with that is, we build 1,000 homes a year in Laredo, and there's probably 150 like that, maybe total, in the past few years, so, I think it's the same thing as, like, right now, everybody can build a palapa, an accessory building, or a palapa in their backyard, 2.5 foot. How many people have palapas? 10%, 15%? I think it's gonna be the same thing here. In other words, we're letting people have the option. I don't think everybody's gonna do it. I'm not gonna build in my backyard. I like the grass, you know, or the kids wanna play. So I think we're just kinda giving folks the option to use more of their land if they want. I don't know what you guys think,
For the front yard.
but for the front end or the back.
Is there gonna be an exception
front
for
is
like
the-
your flag-shaped lots that they have?
Oh, what?
Your flag-shaped lots?
I haven't seen any residential on flag lots other than Concord, and I think the city
I've seen
doesn't.
I've seen a few of them though, but then if you scrunch them in there, then that house in the back, nobody's ever gonna see. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Cause the other house is gonna be
Mm-hmm.
right on top of
Front.
it, yeah.
I like flag lots, but I haven't seen it. I drew a couple of them in on the subdivision that we
Yeah,
ended up not
yeah,
going
but
with.
there's-
I saw was in Concord Hills.
Yeah.
I don't think it's, it might be some, but the one that.
Some people
Yeah.
do what
If you
appears to
can
be like
stagger the
a
setbacks, you
flag
can do it.
lot,
Yeah.
but they have rental properties.
Uh,
Like there's been some new ones, the guy that came here, in here for the landscaping, for the irrigation ordinance, Raul Santos.
Yeah.
I know he did like a little, 2 single-family detached on an R3 lot. And it looks like a flag lot because he's got his driveway to the back, so he's got a casita in the back for rent and a casita in the front for rent with kind of like a flag lot.
Yeah.
For us people that don't know what a flag lot is, can you explain that?
It looks like a flag.
You see that, you see right there? That's the flag right there.
And there's a flag lot, so you have this situation. So this lot is considered a flag lot, you have your access, but your primary use isn't there.
You know, we can see that if you go all the way to 5 foot, you mean, or?
Yeah, if you go to the limits, then it's gonna
Yeah.
obstruct the view, or nobody's gonna know where you live. They're gonna see a driveway and think it belongs to this house, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's true.
And in Concord Hills, what they had was they had their 2 homes here in the front
Yeah.
and the 2 homes in the back, and then you got your flags.
Oh, a shared drive to go in the,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and it was what they did was they maximized it and said, okay, here's your lot, so you've got another, you got another property here, and then so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4.
I got you,
So that was a flag lot concept
yeah.
on there. The issue that they had over there is that these driveways were 24 feet wide only.
Yeah.
If they had done this probably 31 back to back, and they had allowed for enough parking on their properties, then everything would have been okay. But they didn't allow for enough parking on their own existing properties, and they only had a 24-foot wide
It
alley.
worked in the city.
And what they did was they did their accessory parking off-site.
Oh,
So in other words, okay, if you're gonna visit me, you have to walk half a block
Yeah.
in the heat.
yeah, yeah. Which didn't happen.
Well,
The problem that they had there,
Question, Mr.
Was the street was so narrow
At the time of the
that
plat.
even the trash, pick up the trash, the garbage truck couldn't get in
Because
there.
people were parking on the sidewalk.
Yeah. And
You can put
heaven
a-
forbid if there's a fire,
Yeah.
the fire truck
You can
can't
put
get
an
in
extra
there.
note on the
Yeah.
lot.
It's good for like old folks or folks like that that they don't have a lot of cars,
Permit
Yeah.
to build,
inner city.
you know, you can.
You
Yeah,
park in the
yeah,
street,
but-
yeah.
What
A lot of
happens?
services.
It's
use a lot
dispersed
of-
all over the
I
place.
was trying
They're
to
way out
get,
there.
I was trying to get Gilberto to figure out a flag lot for
To comply with all these
the new
setbacks.
city.
Because
This is
yes,
about a
it's
year
saying-
ago. year
Oh, he
ago.
left us, he's not creative enough. There's very few creative engineers.
Yeah, that's right.
No,
Hey, you're like
I
everything.
have a-
It's okay, you're not supposed to,
I'm the lone wolf here now, man.
no, you're not supposed
I'm not
to
quit.
be, you're not supposed to be creative. They say that you're either creative.
The right brain or left brain?
Yeah, you're creative or you're
It's a
reliable,
single
and it's
story.
you can't be both. I'm extremely
Reliable.
Extremely unreliable.
Who's a creative or reliable?
Yeah.
Does that make any
You know,
sense
there's
to
no
you?
view at all.
Or Ray Dalio, that's his
Yeah.
whole thing, yeah, creative or,
Reliable.
Okay, so so existing to also have, that's a discussion, right?
that's the discussion, yeah, whether or not we wanna, limit it to new subdivisions that are planned that way, or open it up to like existing subdivisions.
And just FYI, the Planning and Zoning Commission, they wanted nothing, the back they didn't want nothing to do with it. They said, the people, in Osmo and I think it was
Dominguez.
Ugalde or something.
No, at the first meeting, you didn't go to the first meeting?
They were saying that, if you're gonna build all the way to the back, well, they're not gonna be able to barbecue in the back. Now they're gonna barbecue in the
Oh,
front lot.
that was Mr.
Wait a minute.
Fun Shop.
So I'm just bringing in,
Bickelheimer, that was Mr. Bickelheimer.
so,
I had to do ¿cómo se llama? A memory recall.
I'm just trying to give you
It gets
information
worse as you get older.
so you guys can discuss what would their planning, why would planning and zoning not want to approve what you guys already looked at for a while? And not that, so you can have that information.
Well, the deal with planning and zoning is that they mostly, whatever they disagreed with has to do with lifestyle choices, type of thing, kind of saying, well, where are the kids gonna play? It's like, well, I mean, I don't, and the question there is whether or not city policy should be micromanaging the way that you live your life, and whether or not you have children, or if you want the kids to play in the backyard, or if you wanna barbecue in a certain spot. I think we big brother it too much, and we start thinking, well, that guy wants to barbecue, now he's gonna take his barbecue pit to the front. No, we don't want you barbecuing in the front, only in the back. It's like, I don't even own a barbecue pit, maybe one of those guys.
And I
That
wanna
was-
point
that
out
was
the
my
fact that they
objection.
did say,
Something with fire code.
the
let's see what that
planning
is.
and zoning commission did say, this could be the greatest idea, we just don't know what to, they just didn't really understand, and so they were really
We're
saying,
gonna have to make the decision.
this could be the best idea, we just don't know, and we just wanna make sure we have all the information before we vote. And so, just wanted to throw that out there, I don't know, I think there was another comment.
I think a while back, I had a project, and it was like a higher density project, and we had setbacks that were lower, and we did them with a SUP.
Okay,
And so I had pulled different cities to see what they were doing. And in Austin, for a 3,600 square foot lot, they have 0 rear setback. I don't know how that works, but for 5,700 square foot category, that had 10 foot in the back. Corpus Christi for 4,500 square foot lots, and for 6,000, they had 5 foot and 5 foot in the back. The Valley, both Edinburgh and McAllen, I know they both have 10 foot in the back. Dallas, for a 5,000 square foot lot, has a 5 foot setback in the back. And then it just kind of depends. They have different sizes for different setbacks. But just to kind of give you an idea of what some of the other
Were those
cities.
setbacks all in kind of a relatively same zoning type situation that we put ourselves in?
Well, they're different zoning categories, and the ones that I pulled are the ones where their lot sizes most closely resemble ours. Like the 4,500 square foot, 6,000. They had some that were 20 foot setback, 25, like in Corpus and in Dallas, but those went up to half acre lots, 10,000 square foot lot, 15,000, like Del Mar City maybe, or
Oh,
15,000.
so they're a
square
lot
foot.
more restrictive in lot size and zoning.
They've got more
types.
zoning categories.
Okay.
And we have a couple of zoning categories, like the RSM and all.
the RSM, yeah.
I was looking at the main ones, and even in North Laredo, the majority of the lots being developed right now are actually R1A lots, which are 4,500
I
square
think
foot.
that one of the, when all these ordinances were put together and all that stuff, we didn't have, it was the inception of HOAs, So a lot of these ordinances were done because there were no. you know,
HOA
There were no
restrictions. Yeah.
HOAs, and there's some areas of town, and I can tell you because, I mean, I sell the affordable.
Yeah,
You know, they kind of like, if they wanna do certain things, they choose certain neighborhoods.
yeah,
In other words, it's kind of like, okay, I wanna be able to have my tractor trailer.
Yeah.
You know, so they might scope out the neighborhood, you know, and,
yeah,
you know, and I've told them, I said, look, you know, you put a tractor trailer in there, you know, your neighbors are gonna, you know, get upset. You know, whenever I find out that they have like a tractor trailer type,
Mhm.
you know, situation, like your neighbors are gonna get upset. I mean, you're gonna be the odd guy in, so then some of them don't, you know, some of them don't buy it. But
Can
that's-
you or can you not have a tractor trailer? Yesterday I went to Cuatro Vientos and I saw a tractor
That's
trailer.
against city ordinance.
You can have a tractor trailer and an R3, but it's not permitted in our R1. And the question came out is, hey, I'm the driver, that's the only means of transportation I have. So they do allow them on an R3, you can take your tractor home.
Cuatro
But
Vientos,
not-
what?
Cuatro Vientos?
No,
that's
it's
all
R1.
No,
It's
those are
R1,
maybe.
you're not allowed to have it.
R1.
Now, we had complaints for a guy who used to haul cattle and bring the tractor and the trailer, and then they were complaining about the smell. I think the health department's there, over, not us.
yeah.
So the whole issue here is that with the exception of, and I think we already had, I think we had already made an exception even on the rear setbacks for some of the lots not to have the 5 feet, no? That was something that you brought up, Edwin.
I think the biggest, the
Yeah,
biggest thing
RSM.
there was whether or not, oh yeah,
Well, yeah, I don't believe, did we change, I thought we did not change the RSM.
I have it here in the.
Yes, we did.
yeah, everything was
Right here.
across the board.
Rear, 5 feet, RSM. The 5 feet. So I guess at this stage, let's vote on it and then.
We
Yeah,
voted on everything.
Yeah, we voted on all that.
The
Yeah,
only
yeah,
two things
yeah.
we're looking at
Yeah,
now.
I don't wanna go back and
Right, we
revisit
start
everything,
revisiting, we've
so.
been.
Yeah, we don't want to
6
change.
months.
I think we just need to go ahead and vote on this existing versus proposed.
Yeah, so I think we just need to see whether or not.
This, yeah,
The whole issue is up
Versus
front,
existing
the whole
on the
issue is
front.
that front, there was two issues. There was the issue of the 2.5 feet,
Mhm.
which we already voted on, and then the other issue was the 10 feet
on the existing.
For existing.
unexisting in the front. Those are the two.
Front and rear.
My opinion on it was,
The rear, he wants the rear too as well.
Well, that was already in
Five
there.
feet.
The front's the only one that we.
But we had already voted.
We had already- the rear was
So
already-
he was asking to change, to go back to the accessories, which is, Erasmo brought that up. Erasmo was the one that said, hey, why are you restricting me? You know, that was his immediate, deal, and then the councilman said, no. You know, taking a poll of all the council people, we want families to have more discretion of the use of their land.
Which we already voted on that part. I think that.
It's
the
just
new-
a front one.
The new deal needs to be, someone needs to raise the deal on whether or not we
So,
agree with the existing.
my only statement on that was that my discussion on it was more of aesthetics than anything else.
Yeah.
That was the only reason why I was thinking of, and like we talked
Yeah.
about, maybe I was thinking in my mind, kind of as a compromise. So, at this point, if the councilman has kind of gauged his constituents and their thought is to take advantage of the front, and they're okay with
Yeah.
it not being aesthetically the same.
And maybe that can be
I'm okay with it, so.
at the building permit, deal. Maybe y'all can kind of have a certain standards. You can add to the front, gotta follow the same roof line, or you got, in other words, something there where you have a little bit more say, other than just, with the elevation. I don't know if you can.
I
or
wouldn't
not,
think
but-
that the building department would want to do that. The only other thing is that proposed, it does not take away the HOA's rules.
Yeah,
If the
Correct.
HOA
None of this,
Yeah.
none of this takes
Restrictions
away HOA rules. None of
So
this.
I wanna make it
Subdivision with
clear
new
that way,
Yeah.
not that all of a sudden you guys are making groundbreaking, yeah.
No, I agree with that. None of what we're changing here.
Yeah, certain parts of town have
supersedes
30-foot front setbacks. I mean,
Mhm.
that's gonna
Yeah.
stay. Alexander's got 25,
Yeah,
certain parts of Delmare's got 30, and that's not gonna
Delmar C
change.
has
None of that will
Yeah.
change. If the HOA has the right to change it, right?
The deed restriction.
Yeah.
The HOAs can vote on
They can go in, it's at their discretion.
Yeah, absolutely.
This house can be 5 foot off the property line,
Absolutely, yeah, that's on them.
Yeah.
So that's a second step on anybody that lives in an HOA that wants to do it. Yeah, I'm done with my discussion on it.
You wanna make a motion?
I'll make a motion to, I guess, modify our previous, statement on the front yard setbacks so that the front yard setbacks will now apply also to the existing lots. If I worded that correctly.
There's a motion by Edward Ochoa.
I
Subdivision.
Mr. Hamilton seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Troy, are you opposed? Are you opposed?
I was in
No, he's-
favor.
Okay.
I was in favor from day one, sir.
Zero.
Everybody else, nobody wanted to go with it, so I just backed off.
So now he's gonna come back and say, see, I told you so.
I just said I was in favor of it from day one, but I could see your concerns, but after talking to some people.
Yeah, I mean, after polling the councilman and some of his constituents.
I think those are the big voting points.
I wanted to,
Was there a third one you talked about?
I know, the other one, we all agree, Dave.
Was there a third one?
no,
That's it.
I wanted to bring something up. I didn't put it on the agenda, but I did want to have a staff communication. As some of you may know, I know Mr. Troy knows that I do the utility coordination. And I had a meeting with all the engineers as far as, you gotta go through the utility coordination process and now you're not gonna get permits anymore. Well, in that discussion with the TSPE, the Texas Society of Professional Engineers, we met, Mr. Garza had proposed with AEP on the front lot utilities, which is really what this is about. And so he had already kind of designed something and he had submitted something. So maybe I don't know if this goes through, I don't know if this is gonna be a continuation of this, because again, the front lot setbacks, you still have to respect easements. And AP is gonna be in the front, and so this is the way it's going on new lots for front lot utilities. And so whether you're gonna put the carport all the way to the edge of the easement, you need to make sure that you're, protecting the,
I think a good compromise on that, I don't think we're ever gonna fix that part of it, but if AEP is gonna end up going in the front on new subdivisions, folks probably aren't gonna be able to build their carport, but theoretically, if you have a 5-foot deal now in the back, you can push the house back a little bit more so you can get a full carport, because now your backyard, you can build all the way up to that easement. Or you can have a swimming pool now, you can do all kinds of stuff, because you don't have that AEP easement right in the very
right
back.
now AP requires 10 feet in the front. And maybe we can get them to
Go to 6.
minimize it, because you still got 9.5 feet of right of way that they can still kind of access through the front.
Yeah.
So it's just food for thought, think about it, and I meant to send everything with that and with the email, send his design that was already approved by AEP. But I don't know if it was that specific case and if it was at that time that they were okay with.
Because I think they can go 6 foot from the back to curb, maybe, right? Because there's 4 foot to the sidewalk, and
No,
then
so,
they go 10.
And I know Mr. Troy knows about AEP, so.
well, I did a front lot setback in Escondido
Mhm.
10 years ago.
Mhm.
And might have been maybe one of the first
Yeah.
all subdivision front lot setback. I mean, front lot utilities, I'm sorry, front lot
Right.
utilities. And, I mean, it was 10 years ago, but the discussion back then was, I don't think AEP's allowed to be in the right of way underground. There was,
Yeah.
it's like part of their code.
Mhm.
So they have to be in your property. And then you've got everybody else that's there. AT&T, Time Warner and all that. And so we ended up having to, I think it was 10 or maybe 12 feet
Of an easement.
of an easement that had to be in that front. And there was no real compromise not much more of a compromise to that.
'Cause since we do 6 foot in the back, but I guess it's 6 foot, and you have 6 foot on the
Well,
other side.
6 and
they
6 is
They have
12.
12 feet, yeah.
Yeah,
It needs to be
that's the
5'5",
way
man.
that that's the way that they see it. They give
Yeah.
you 6 foot in the back if you're back to back with another
Yeah.
lot. Because technically for them, they've got the 12-foot clear space, or 12 foot to work
Yeah.
with. Even though there's block fences
Yeah.
and trees and whatever.
Yeah, but
At the end of the day, they have 12 feet.
they're trying to maintain the distances between different types of services between electrical and.
Correct.
So you have to have a vertical distance, so
Cor-
that's why they go to the 12 feet.
Correct, because they probably have power in one side of the 6 and gas on the other side of the
Yeah.
6 and AT&T and Time Warner or Spectrum, whatever,
Stacked, yeah.
somewhere else or stacked. So that's just been my experience on it. I don't know how much.
I like that new way, I don't know if you all agreed on it.
Calm?
No, can you bring that chart down? Can you bring that?
Did you talk about it, Roland?
I'm sorry.
About just extending the sewer?
There.
Because I think that was another big deal, that
That-
you were
that's
gonna
what-
start doing single sewers. Well, for that, we might as well have AEP in the back. I think that wide kind of concept to go around the,
He had a design, Mr. Gus had a design with the sewer and water and how to
Yeah.
design it to where you're gonna put the electrical service, the what do you call it?
Transformer.
The transformer,
The
the
pedestal.
meter, the clean outs
Yeah.
and, you know, and where, I guess if you're looking at it from, what do they call it?
Plan view.
Plan view, that you have, in this specific area, it's gonna be, you know, fiber optic, in this
Yeah.
specific area, it's going to be electric, in this specific area, it's gonna be water, that kind of thing. So that we uniformly say, this is how it's going to be,
Good
so
idea.
that,
especially
to
putting
get
AT&T
everybody,
corner.
the idea's been thrown around, and it's a
We
great
tried-
idea,
yeah, we
but
tried
to
to
get
do that.
everybody at the table
Yeah.
to buy in and say, because ultimately, we want all the contractors to understand that so many feet from the back of curb is where the electric's gonna go at, so many feet is gonna be, that kind of thing, to not simplify it, but kind of standardize it.
If there's-
Because if it's all going to the front,
Yeah, it's a mess.
We
That's
had,
pretty
we had
great.
some issues with that, on that project, the Ys, the sewer Ys, because now
Yeah.
you cannot put your standard sewer Y. When you start to look at
Yeah.
the space of how the contractor builds the Y
Yeah.
into the street and then does that, it doesn't clear you enough for a transformer, because the transformer cannot be on the lot line. AEP wants a transformer to be,
On one or the
yeah,
other.
5 feet on
Yeah.
one side or on the other side. So, yeah,
and it can't be with the water, because you can't mix water
Yeah,
and
yeah.
electricity, so it's like either you're
Yeah.
on the side of the sewer or on the side of the water. Because water and sewer, they're on opposite ends of the lot,
Mhm.
so where are you gonna put the electricity, you know?
Yeah, it was quite tricky. I mean, everything worked out, obviously, but
And then,
as much as we tried to maybe standardize some of that, my recollection, again, 10 years ago, but
Yeah.
as much as we tried to standardize it, there was always a situation, well, not on this one, because,
Yeah.
you know, you gotta do this.
so anyway, I wanted to bring you that topic, because off of that meeting, Mr. Garza sent us that he wants this kind of, I mean, I guess we're trying to figure out what is the best way, because see, I'm tasked to make sure that all the construction, that it is, you know, I wanna protect center points, AEP, everybody's
Yeah.
infrastructure, I'm tasked with that, and that's for the utility code. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that I got an email that said that the 811 is gonna end.
Oh, well.
No more one-call systems,
Yeah, good.
I guess the state is suing the 811 or vice versa.
811.
And so,
Where you do.
I thought it was
Yeah,
only
like that.
one 811 provider that was canceling their service. It's,
I may need clarification on that, so I didn't get a chance to read
Yeah.
all that, but it is interesting, and if it is, it's gonna put a monkey wrench on what I'm doing with utility coordination. Because then developers are gonna have to call, for every dig, they're gonna have to call all these individually, everybody, you know, and coordinate everybody.
Oh, I don't have an online system. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You'd like to make a motion to adjourn?
No, I'd like to make a motion that we go back on task so we can correct.
I think we've done it. I think we've done
Well,
it.
I just noticed an error.
Okay.
Right now, when we're talking about the setbacks, if you look at the, Too late.
Just kidding.
It was a typo. Or we have the Fs in the rear backyards.
Yeah.
And I think we got confused with that RS zone. We're supposed to have 5-foot building setbacks, and we put 10. We referred to F as opposed to referring to H on the R2s, R3s. It was the RS zone, the Delmar
Mhm.
section that you wanted the,
RSM.
yeah, that you wanted to change the setback to 10 feet, no?
On the rear?
Yeah, in other words, the F, all those Fs don't refer, F refers to 10 feet, not 5 feet.
I think the F was for the B, right? For the Bs?
No, it wasn't for the Bs, it was for the RS.
F is setback shall be 10 feet on single-family residential use.
Yeah, but all
So
the,
this should have been an F?
that should have been
Oh.
an H.
No, what he's doing is for R2, R3, RS, RO.
Yeah, they should have been H's, not Fs. And then
So where would the F apply?
In other words,
the F was supposed to apply to your RS zone, remember, you were like the Delmar section?
Hmm.
And I think that's where we got confused on here.
so the F is 10 and the H's are 5,
Residential.
but we want to put,
What is RSM?
but that's only for new plats though, Chewy, right?
RS,
Oh, RSM is multifamily, no? RS, oh no.
No, residential suburban,
Oh, yeah.
no, RS,
Yeah.
but RSM?
RSM
RSM is
is residential
multifamily.
suburban multifamily.
Yeah.
That's like the,
It's like the big one.
Big lots.
Yeah, I mean, we have 5 there.
but the RSM is.
Yeah, we're supposed to have an H
I
on the
think-
RS.
Champions condo.
And then, I mean, we're supposed to have an F on the RS, and then we took all of them to be Fs, but they should be H. They're Scrivener errors. In other words, where you have the,
See, these 5, 5, and then that's just it, 5, and then this is the
Yeah,
F. You
what-
want that to be,
it was supposed to be an H. The only one that was
these are
supposed,
supposed to be H's, right?
no, 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 no.
See, because originally you had done this because you wanted to be either 5 feet for new.
No, no, because we were changing the new and we were changing those to 5 feet. And those were changed to 5 feet, but on R2, it was supposed to be 5 feet, it was single-family use. But we put an F as opposed to an H because the discussion happened on the RS. In other words, Edward,
I thought we changed on the R2 on the rear setback because of parking and all that for a fourplex. Or R3 and R2, no? We left those at 20 foot in the back, if you were building actual apartments? Or I guess we didn't get into the apartment building side, right?
we were
just talking about
supposed to,
single
but
family.
we didn't, we got directed. So anyways, the first 2 Fs on that are supposed to be H's. So R2, it's not supposed to be an F, it's supposed to be an H. R3, it's supposed to be an H. RS stays. RO was supposed to be an H. And then B1R is supposed to be an H.
Well, let it go to council, because it's already submitted to council.
But I thought we
We
were gonna submit, I thought the whole purpose
It's
today.
introductory only, so anyway, let it go through and see what the discussion is going to be.
I thought the purpose today was that we can have the ordinance already, in other words, if he wants to vote on it, que ya está, como se llama? It's kinda like what we've done when, in the previous times, we've had P and Z, make a recommendation, and then GRB concurred with the recommendation.
Let's leave it as is, and I'm not saying we can't change it, I'm saying, yeah, let's change it, but let it go through, because it's already, this format already went through. Because if we make little changes here,
Well, did you give him that one? or
it
did you give him-
technically,
you gave him
you're
this one,
changing
huh?
something that, you're already gonna vote on this, right?
Mhm.
So it's still an introductory, they're probably not gonna say much on it.
Well,
There's probably not even gonna be a discussion.
Actually, at
What should happen
whatever
is-
goes to the final.
that, if what you're saying is right, Chewy, that's contradictory to everything we've just been talking about.
Exactly.
I always always thought,
You know, so,
And so they're saying, I'd rather not make a change right now as it's going to council, because ultimately council's gonna.
well, you're not gonna make a change because it goes along the lines of the two other things we just voted on.
Yeah.
You're not gonna make the change, but at least we have on record that
That
we
would be
showed
fair.
support or our intention was this. Does
Yes.
that make sense?
I always thought that the purpose of having two readings was, the first one you introduce it, and then you had to fine tune it. Then they're supposed to
Correct,
be-
so right,
And
that's what I'm saying, we can
then-
fine tune it again.
and then the final reading, you have it
Yeah, but we wanna have the fine tuned at that meeting.
before.
Yeah.
Before that meeting.
Yeah.
But I think it might be, if it's already turned in, it might be late, it has to be fine tuned between the introduction and the final reading.
It got posted just now. So, I
Correct,
mean,
but-
But
I
at
don't
that
wanna
meeting,
change
we
it.
can make the notations that these are,
Yeah.
there was a
You can
scrivener.
vote on it to change it, that's not the problem. You
Yeah,
can
that's-
vote on it now, if it's gonna be changed to that, you can make that motion, but
Right, so we've made 2 votes to date, right? We've made 2
Mhm. Right.
votes, so I just noticed that there was a typo on this thing. So if we could just real quickly look at the document, that way we have an alternative document there that says, okay, you know, here's what the ordinance would look like if you want the 5-foot, 10-foot setbacks on existings. And here is how the ordinance would look if we keep the 2.5 feet. And by the way, we made a typo on this thing, and here's the corrected
Yeah.
deal. So that's, if it's
yeah,
okay
you
with
can make,
you.
I mean, you can make the recommendation.
Okay,
I'm
Mr.
just
Chairman, make
saying,
a motion that we just spend the next 20 minutes correcting the few changes on this thing, so we can have the document correct at that meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second. But the motion to,
Yeah, to make
To correct it,
to
yeah.
fine tune this thing, so we
Okay.
have 2 sets of
I'll
documents.
second, I'll second.
You still have more.
Let's see, Vinny.
Okay, so I make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that.
Well, hold on,
Oh,
we need to vote on, we need to take a vote on
Is all
the,
in favor?
just a motion to discuss, right?
no, motion to, yeah, we're gonna make the changes. The
Yes, sir, motion that
recommendation.
It's a motion to discuss the changes, right? We're not moving.
No, you're making a
I'm making a
motion
motion that we can,
to correct.
to correct the document, so
document
that,
today.
because the original document already went, but having learned.
Or you're not motioning on the corrections themselves yet.
We've already
No, I'm
motioned.
making a motion
Except for
to make the corrections to this document
Okay.
based on the 2 previous motions, which was the 5.5 feet and the 10 feet, I mean, the 2.5 feet and the 10 feet, for those 2 changes, and to correct this typo. So that when staff goes to council, they say, okay, well, this is what originally was submitted, but there was a meeting that was had, and the TRB concurs with the discussion
So-
at that meeting.
Okay.
He's making a motion to take the time right now to just fix whatever.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that it's a motion
Oh,
to
yeah.
take the time. We're not voting, we're not motioning to change it now. Like, we're not voting on the changes yet. We're still gonna have the discussion and we're still gonna decide on,
No, we're-
this one should be 5. Yes, I agree, or I don't agree.
Yes, well, okay, that's what I'm
That's my
saying,
point.
so my
Right.
motion right now is to correct the chart so that R2, R3, RO, and B1 be changed from an F to an H.
That's his motion, which basically.
Okay,
to
now
change-
he's being
yeah.
detailed about his motion.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna vote on
And-
that.
And the F to the H, that just means in an R2, R3, RS, RO, B1R, oh no, and B1, yeah, that whenever you're building a house on any of those zoning designations, that we have the same setback rule as we're having for everything else. Which is, I guess R2 is a multifamily, R3 is old eastern western division lots, and RS is Del Mar C?
Yeah, no, I didn't say
Ish.
RS stayed as F, I said R2, R3,
B1R.
RO, and B1R. Because the RS, that's where I think we got all confused, because you were.
the RS, you put it as
RS.
5.
Well, again, and just to clarify my logic on the RS, goes back to the examples that Juan was giving from other cities. The larger lots tend to have
A bigger,
more of a setback because there's more room to build, you know?
You don't end up with a 10,000
And you have
square
that,
foot
yeah,
house. Yeah.
that was my logic on the RS, just
Yeah.
to defend my,
your motion.
my thought back then.
His
Okay,
neighborhood.
well then.
It's not my neighborhood out
If
there.
your thought
Yeah, no,
has
yeah.
changed, then we can go back
No, it makes
to all of them as an H. If everybody concurs. with it.
Well, I mean, you all can vote on that. I'm sticking to my thought and my logic. It will stay the same.
So my motion is to just to correct R2, R3, RO, and B1R. Which means the people in Delmar C will be subject to a 10-foot back setback. It'll be the only area where they're,
Well, it's
Well,
not
RS
really, it's not really all
is
of
the same.
LRC because an RS is a minimum lot area of 15,000 square feet. There's some LRCs that are like
That's why it's
10,000,
hard to
12,000. So just for everybody to get a gauge here, a 15,000 square foot lot is,
That's a big one.
it's a big lot.
Yeah.
So I think people
Well,
with big lots, the logic is
which is
you have
more
more
than
space
half an
between
acre.
each other, you know?
What is
I
it?
don't know.
No,
It's a
have an
third of an
acre.
acre.
Y'all don't like it,
But
change it,
RS
that's
and
fine.
RSM,
I'm not proposing to change it.
those are both, RS and RSM are both, if they're 30-foot front setbacks, they're in that, RSM is.
Let me get you, let me get you the
That's the only
definition.
RSM I've ever seen in my life. And the one right next door.
Which ones?
But they didn't follow the same rule. The Champions over there on St. James, the one story that Eddie Garcia did a long time ago.
Yeah.
They bought it and then sued everybody and all that because they couldn't build a more dense deal, and then they ended up just following whatever the rules were, which it turned out to be those one-story jobs.
So, is that for like a second?
No, I think we're just getting a definition, there was a question about what did
I think you're right. I
RSM.
think that's a prudent thing to do. Whatever we voted on, well, let's just.
Yeah, I'm
check it
not,
real quick.
you know,
And we do
I
only
guess
have
I'm
15
not
minutes
really
left for the
disagreeing with you
meeting,
two,
so,
I
yeah.
just, we're just
Yeah.
getting clarification on the RSM.
RSM is multifamily residential
Ah,
district.
okay.
Those uses permitted in RS suburban districts are permitted, provided however that all single-family developments shall meet or exceed the minimum lot width, square footage, setback requirements of the RS suburban district. So it's already defined for that.
It's already actually defined.
Yeah.
It basically
setbacks.
tells you, if you're an
That's what
RSM,
the
single
description is.
family, you gotta follow RSM.
And that's why we wanna be, that's why I had said, you know, do we wanna go by specific zones? And that's what Mr. Villarreal was suggesting. Why don't we try it on some zones and before we go full board, all subdivisions, but anyway,
I have to come back.
it didn't,
Yeah.
so.
I guess let's go by one. How does everybody think about the R2, R2 zoning, which is like multifamily zoning? So you can build apartments there, but you can build a single.
Well,
family.
again, for clarification
This is
on-
only for single family house.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
clarification on what you're saying, it stays 20 for everything in an R2,
That's,
except for single family, which we are wanting to go down to the
to
5
just make it
foot.
uniform to any other zoning designation lot. If you only build on one whole lot, you're only gonna build one house. If you're gonna build a multifamily, then you have to follow whatever the rest of it is. So we're just looking at single family.
Single family, correct.
So I guess somebody would have to make a motion on that one way or the other, so we can vote it up or down.
Well,
Right.
however you wanna handle it.
I'm thinking.
We can vote in each one, or
I'd
we
like to
can
vote in
all
each
take a
one, 'cause
poll
we-
and then.
Yeah.
Okay, I move that we change the F to an H and R2.
What's the F currently says 10-foot.
Single family residential.
And we'd be going to 5 foot to make it the same as with an R1, R1A, or anything else that we're doing now.
So, just to add, or to amend it, for rear yard setbacks.
Right on the rear yard.
Yeah, under the rear yard
Yeah,
setback
just wanna make
designation there. So, that's a motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I make a motion that we change the R3 designation on the rear yard setback from an F, which is 10 feet, to an H, which is would be 5 feet.
What was that?
Will you second?
R3.
Say it again.
What was that motion again?
I make a motion that we change the rear setback designation from an F to an H on the R3 zone,
R3.
which would be from 10 to 5 feet.
Single family
Single
residence.
Single
yeah,
family
yeah,
residence.
Yeah, the designation, all of the designations are single family use only.
Next.
I don't know, we should say.
Oh, I'm sorry.
To correct
Any
an
second?
error- To correct an error on our
Yeah.
intention, I mean.
Yeah, it was a typo.
Yeah, to correct an error on our intention.
Do you want to put all the zoning designations in one motion then?
That's, I tried to do that in the rear.
Yeah, that's why, how do you wanna handle it? How do you wanna handle it, Juan?
Speed it along.
Yeah,
So, if you want to put them all
Okay, so
together.
make this motion for the rest of them. Mike.
Yeah, for.
And if somebody
for,
disagrees, though, we can have a discussion and then
Chime
vote
in
No, I'm
on it.
gonna-
on the specific one.
For RO, in other words, R2, R3, RO, and B1R. To change it from an F to an H, which goes, is single family use, 10 feet to 5 feet, which was, was, obviously was a typo.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
So now we're 6, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can, pull up the draft of the ordinance.
Is that in our mind?
It's in the.
I'm looking over your shoulder.
Do you have a-
I thought you were doing
No,
all
you
your
don't have it in
copy.
the binder.
I guess
I don't think I
the,
have it in this, if you're wanting to change the definitions, or what do you want to do?
No, I wanted to just correct the issue. We had stricken out, no accessory building shall be located less than 2.5 feet.
We already voted on that, so I thought we could have a change, right?
yeah,
Right, but I wanted to make that correction and
Just
turn
wanted to
that
make
to
it black
black.
again.
Take the strike
Okay.
out,
Which is this one B,
hey,
A,
that's side
9A,
9A.
yeah.
and you're gonna leave the A.
So that remains in there.
Yeah, you leave the A there. Yeah,
What?
'cause it
It was
just-
already there.
'cause it was already there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, I guess we delete the A on the next one. right?
So then
as
we
well.
delete, that would become a B, actually,
Yeah.
because.
yeah, it stays, in other words, those two red,
Yeah.
that stays as is. In other words, there was no change to that anymore.
Well, that becomes a B
No, just
now,
change it to a B, yeah.
Yeah.
because we left part of that section.
That becomes a B now. Yeah, perfect. And then the next one is, the
Yeah,
rest is on the chart.
Yeah, actually, it was no change. In other words, you just need to eliminate the
No, that's
A.
right, the B, because we had put a B in front of it,
We had struck it, yeah, we had struck it out the B.
yeah.
So delete that.
It's not letting me.
Yeah, it's not gonna let him.
Well, because he's-
already at
It,
the-
it,
Put a B there.
it keeps,
Okay.
that's the way you
So
said.
take off all the red and turn it to black.
Yeah, I gotta go to the views.
Wait,
and all
wait.
that.
Okay.
Are we also applying it to all that?
Yes, and there was a carport canopy.
Oh, that's
on
right,
it.
okay, that
Or
turns
other-
black
is it
also.
side by, side
Oh,
by.
that's black
side
also?
yard?
Yeah.
In other words, they didn't wanna change the side yard setback, the,
Carport.
That's, yeah, one of them, they just have accessory dwelling separate since it's enclosed, and the
We-
second part
we had that
refers to all
discussion,
the
because I brought up
stuff
the
that's not
issue.
enclosed.
Let me tell you,
Okay.
I brought up, I brought up the issue.
We only have 10 minutes, everybody agrees.
Okay.
And then now, the
That's
rest,
that was on the, see how it said accessory structure, that's on the side.
Sides.
yeah, and
Then
then now
it's on the
that,
rear,
So
same
now-
thing, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
same
no, that
so,
one,
all the way
not
from
that.
C. Hmm?
That's
Yeah,
the
rear
rear.
yard. That's
No,
right.
not, just the A, just go to A only.
You're gonna,
The A,
we're gonna take that out.
where it says no accessory building, that one goes black. no change,
Back to the original.
yes. B,
It's all three of them. It's the same as what we just did a while ago. This is just a rear.
B,
the other
B
one's the front.
stays as is, cause we've replaced that section.
What do you mean? We replace
A
it?
porch or carport or upper not enclosed all sides with walls higher than,
Yeah.
That's allowed. Why are we
Yeah.
taking that out?
Yeah, because 50% of the
Because-
rear yard setback,
because
even
we-
if it was 5, still
because
is
if
2
you
and a
have
half.
it enclosed, it no longer, it's no longer, that one's no longer necessary because you can go all the way up to,
But it's the same concept too as doing the
It's a side
palapa.
setback.
You-
Yeah, they're all-
Is that right?
no, because that one says 50%. It says 50% of the rear.
Yeah, which if it's 5 feet, it goes to 2.5 feet.
No, se-
The porch, carport, upper balcony, not enclosed, all sides open with walls higher than 3 feet. Balcony shifting may project into the rear yard, but not closer to
yeah,
the
but
rear
those are,
property line
those
than
are
50% of the rear
attachments to
setback.
your primary structure.
Okay, so
Well,
taking,
what would
taking
happen-
me out, okay.
Well, what happened if you leave that there and you have a 5-foot setback,
No, no,
then you can go 2.5 feet.
So what about fire escapes enclosed, da, da, da? We gotta leave the fire escape, right?
No, well, it depends. Because it can project up to 5 feet into a rear yard setback, but if the rear yard setback's only 5 feet, it goes to the property line, you know? So I think, no, I think it
We should
includes
take it out?
right? Fire escapes, stairways,
Okay,
yeah.
So what
I think
about-
5 feet's generous enough, don't you think?
I think so.
I'm kind of with Chewy on that other one, that I think,
The one in the middle?
the B is, they're attached, those are attached.
Right, so we wanna take it
So
out.
we want to take it, we
Right.
want to continue to take it out.
Correct.
Well,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because those are all attached things, so that
Well,
falls
yeah.
under our guidance.
Yes,
or-
but that assumes that you have a 5 foot setback, but that you go all the way to the 5 feet. What if somebody says, okay, we need to go,
You
I
can
need,
build on it.
I need to go 7 foot, or 8 foot, or 9 foot.
But
It
you
doesn't
can
matter,
build-
because you can build whatever you
all
want
the
there,
way to
including
5 feet.
open or not open.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that stays removed.
That's it?
Okay.
That was already
No accessory
voted
dwelling
on.
shall be
Or-
made.
That was voted
That
on,
was
we're
the
just,
second- that was-
we're correcting it on that
Document, so we can have the
document,
document.
so that the
correct.
document's already updated.
Okay, then the only other question that I have now is going back to the chart, which is new, not correcting the old, is since we had created a new line
It's the same thing I did.
for front yard setbacks, because that
Wait,
new
let me say
line
this.
on the chart.
Oh, we gotta say that one, right?
Yeah, I don't wanna move before I say anything.
Put the date next to
Yeah,
it.
put a date on it. Sorry.
That's right.
Hey, 17 to get here a lot faster, but it's because now we started at 5:30 before we used to start at 5.
We
So
started
7 was 2 hours, now
5:45.
it's
I make a
6.
motion, we extend the meeting for 15 minutes.
No, I think we just
No.
roll it through, yeah.
That motion's gonna die.
Allow me to really talk.
Yeah, I don't know.
No respect.
Welcome back to,
Rodney
welcome back.
Dangerfield, no respect.
So I guess now it's just a chart real
We
quick.
go back to
right?
the chart.
I'm gonna index the land development code, so that way when you click on the first one, it goes
They
to.
have some,
It-
some of their documents are.
All right,
It's good.
I did it once a long
is-
time ago, and then it changed like 3 months
No,
later.
The new one is indexed.
When you click on it, it goes to the deal? Oh, maybe so.
Well, I'm saying you can find,
If you do, yeah, you can find stuff.
Okay, so what are you wanting to do on this one?
That's
well, we
age
had created the front yard,
and
the
RS.
3 asterisks for
Mhm.
new residential plats after.
Oh, yeah, we need to delete that.
Yeah.
We just agree, we voted on that.
What,
That's one of the
So-
what
changes.
is, what's
So
the issue?
so basically this, all the 10s over here, all these,
Mhm.
now
Uh,
change from, in other words, the 35 gets strucken out and you have a 10, 20 gets strucken out and have a 10, 20 gets strucken out and have a 10, 10. Because we no longer need these 2 new,
Oh, I see what you mean. Because of our vote on applying it both to existing and proposed.
Yeah, so because it was new subdivisions, we needed a new line for the new subdivision, so on all those sections,
Where's that at?
in other words.
Yeah.
Oh, the asterisk ones.
No,
Yeah.
you're talking about these three right here.
No, go up
Yeah.
to the top.
Yeah.
Okay, we had front yard setback with 3 asterisks,
Yes.
and then we had front yard setback corner with 3 asterisks because we had a new designation for new plats after the,
So
the ordinance got
implementation of
approved,
this
or- and
ordinance.
maybe it was a moot point, but if it got approved, then we said, okay, as of this date, we had a new requirement,
So then
so.
all we do is we strike out the one on top of it.
Yeah, in other words, so the 35 changes to 10, the
Mhm.
20 changes to 10, 20 to 10, 10 stays the same, no change, 20 to 10.
Why don't we just scratch out where it says front yard setback?
This
Just
one?
scratch out, yeah, we just leave the asterisk ones. You know what I mean? The new ones.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Right? You know what I mean?
Yes.
No, what?
Yes and no. I
You
guess.
have to scratch it out. You're proposing to change it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one was
You're
there.
gonna scratch it
You
anyway.
Scratch out what you're
If that way
proposing
to
to
scratch it,
change.
put it next to it, scratch it next to it. We just
Yeah.
rewrote the line, is all we did. We could take out the asterisks, that's what we could do, and just leave the lines there, and we just take out the asterisks. Because there's no word.
It works
refer
both
to anything
ways,
in
but it works both ways, but from a legal standpoint, I guess, of changing it, we changed it, right? That's what you're thinking.
Yeah,
Because
what
we
I'm saying-
scratched the whole thing out, and this is the replacement. Because we have to replace it with two
Correct,
lines.
well, I mean,
We have a new
technically, we
corner
could have done
designation.
that on any of the other ones too, but
Exactly.
6 of one, half a dozen of another, it's just, how do they want us to,
Spend the next 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Say we Scratch the first line and we leave those there.
well, I think we all agree, I think we all agree on the intention there,
Yeah,
but.
we agree on the intent. I don't know if it's possible on that end of it there. Oh yeah, you're in Excel. I say we just scratch where it says front yard setback, the very first one, because you have to scratch it and then you have to put a new number next to it. It gets too clunky, like how we did down there with the 20 and the scratch. You scratch the whole thing and we say, we just did a brand new two, because you're replacing it with 2 lines, because we still have to have the corner one. Right? The corner
The
designation.
corner one stays the same.
Yeah, so we still need a whole new line. So we're scratching out the first one, we're replacing it with what's below, and we have the next one. Yes, it's form over substance, the opposite. Yeah.
At the end of the day, our vote still stands, you're gonna make that correction one way or the other.
So I would just.
Right?
like, yeah, on roll
On
number
your
6, roll number 6. Just take the roll number 6, and then, yeah, row 6 from there, all the way through, just highlight the whole thing, and just put one big line through it, you know, whatever the
Well, you
line.
can because they're individual cells.
What's that? No, you can. And just do the one on the top that you use for the lines, and they'll all change.
Yes, I know,
Yeah.
you're right.
There you go. Awesome.
Boom.
And then all we have to do now is erase the asterisks, for where it says front yard setback. We just won't have any asterisks anymore. And then the next one also, the 3 asterisks, and then we just go down to the bottom and erase whatever was, we had 3 asterisks on. And then it stays just like it should. If you notice, I'm not the
So
punctuation.
then I have to take out,
No,
do I need to take, oh, no, wait.
that will stay, everything stays, we just go down to the bottom, and then just erase where it has those 3 asterisks on the bottom. That one just goes away. We just delete the whole row, or we can just do that, we're not really changing it, we don't have to strike it through, because that was something we added and we decided not to add, right? Well, it depends on how it gets approved, yeah, you might as well strike it
Let's
through.
strike it so they can see.
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, so that they could see our intention.
But they're gonna have a separate one, you're right. I mean, the original one,
Yeah, they already have the one, that's why I wanna,
yeah. No, this is.
that's why I named this changes, because I don't know what the,
I said you say that one with today's date.
well, it's changes, the other one, well, yeah, the other one. Let me- So any other changes?
Okay, so what did you end up doing?
We just did it, look, it's right up there. Go back up a little so you can see it in person.
What we did,
We
what we
scratched
did,
that.
Chewy, is
The path of
we're
least
leaving
resistance.
this one, we're leaving this
We
one,
struck out that
we
one.
struck
Yeah.
out that one.
Which is what you
We're leaving
want.
this one and took that out.
No
We're
more
leaving this one and
35,
took
no
the
more.
other.
Because we replaced one line with 2 lines, because now we have to have a corner line. So it's kind of
Like,
like,
it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another, I think.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Unless, for whatever reason, legal wants us to.
No, it makes sense
Show.
to strike out the top one. and
We're just
revisit
doing
it.
this to show our opinion. I don't think it's gonna be up to us to make the final
That's correct.
changes and all that. That's
That's
staff's
absolutely
job.
correct.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is just so we
That's
can
what I'm saying,
present.
we already voted on it.
Yeah, this is not gonna go into the land development code, yeah. All right, any other discussion?
I'm at your mercy.
Motion?
The strikeouts, okay, the strikeouts are supposed to be in red, no?
What was it?
The strikeouts are supposed to be in red?
I'm not sure how it's set up.
Or
The
the
new
strikeouts-
Oh, yeah, strikeouts isn't ready.
So just change it to red, and I make a motion that we approve it
As modified?
as modified, yeah.
Does anybody, can I hear? a
You
second?
already did that motion.
Yeah, we already made a motion.
Change
We're
it
just
to
following
red.
through the motion.
Yeah,
You already
The next
did
motion
that
should be
motion, that's what I'm
I
saying.
don't think we need a motion for that, we're just correcting
already-
what
yes.
we've already voted on.
And the freshman always makes the motion to adjourn.
Imagine 6 years of this. It's almost been 6.
I've been here 4. I saw my
It's
certificate
almost
this
been
morning.
6. I wanna be here 3 and
Ready
it
to
feels
do
like
the
6.
plaque,
at
the
least.
plaque. I
Yes.
don't want a plaque.
Can we entertain a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second the motion.
All in favor? You go all the way. Aye, motion carries. Thank you, everybody.